Hello, today we're talking about food coloring. Thank you for joining me at Thriving with Food Sensitivities. This is Lori Coltrup. I am a food sensitivities guru and I have so many food sensitivities. And one thing, I grew up being super hyper all the time. So I thought it would be interesting to talk about this thing with food coloring, and I'm calling it No Kid Has a Ritalin Deficiency. Now, first of all, I want you to know that I do agree that some kids need Ritalin, but there's some really cool things that you might be able to do before going there to see if you can avoid medicating them that way. So let's talk about it, because I always thought that kids got hyper from sugar. However, maybe, just maybe, it's not the cookie they just ate, but the frosting and the sprinkles on it that are green and pink and so pretty, and something that kids really, really love. Americans eat 5 times more food dye than we did in the 1950s. 5 times. And studies have linked artificial food dyes to different things like hyperactivity, irritability and depression, hives and asthma, and something very upsetting, tumor growth. They use benzene, which is carcinogenic, when they make these things. So consider removing it. Let's talk about this. Here's some things that you might want to think about regarding food dyes. People can have an inflammatory response to artificial dyes, which can disrupt the immune system. These cancer-causing contaminants can build up in the body over time and cause some problems later in life. The most common food dyes, red 40, yellow 5, and yellow 6, they all contain benzene. And the FDA considers these levels low enough for ingestion and that they're safe. But we're talking about lifetime cumulative value. So just think about that when it comes down to what your kids are eating, and what you're eating too, because it can happen with adults too. Red and 40 and yellow 5 are specifically linked to behavioral effects in children, and they're the most common in the United States. Those are the 2 that are most common. In England, those dyes have to have a label that says may have an adverse effect on the activity and attention in children. So how do you find out if it's the dye causing the behavior issue? It's super easy. Stop eating it. Take it out for a week or 2 and see how their attitude and personality is. See if they're still hyperactive. Then you can always add it back in and see what happens too. And there's an Australian study that found that 75% of parents noticed a difference when they did this in their kids' behavior. So I am a strong proponent of reading labels. Read the labels. Look for those colors with a number added. They can do natural food coloring like beets and annatto, and no, you don't have to have crushed up bugs. That's just gross. Unless they're cicadas. They're out this year. Okay, so just a couple of things to pay attention to. Cool Ranch Doritos have red 40, blue 1, and yellow 5. 3 of them. Fritos has corn oil, and salt. Not a big change for you. Still delicious. Let's talk about medicines. Regular Benadryl has DNC red number 27 aluminum lake. I don't know what any of that means. Dye-free Benadryl has no inactive ingredients. It's just got the one ingredient, diphenhydramine. Costs exactly the same. Yeah, we've been using regular Benadryl, so I think we're going to switch. I'm glad I did the research on this. Tylenol contains FD&C red number 40 aluminum lake. Target's Up&Up brand has no dyes, and it's cheaper. So pay attention to ice cream, cereals, baked goods. It's oftentimes in those really colorful, yummy things like Fruit Loops and things like that. And also they put dye in cheese to make it orange instead of yellow. And they even dye fruits and vegetables to make them more appealing. So pay attention to your labels, look at them, and do an elimination and see if that might help with the hyperactivity. All right. Have a great day. And join me on Facebook. My group is called Thriving with Food Sensitivities. Love to have you there, and hop on in there and we'll see you there.